Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio. Around the world today here on Real Terrio Radio.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my podcast about poverty. If you are listening, this is Around the World Today, episode 1, part 2, here on Real Terrio Radio's podcasts. And I'm enjoying this. Although it's taken me some time to get used to this speaker, hence why, if you are listening live, there has been a gap of an hour and a half. Nothing to do with me being on the phone to a friend, but hey, it has some bearing in the matter, doesn't it? So, we are talking about poverty, and I've been reading some stories today. Firstly, about a nurse, 93 years of age. So, an ex-nurse, retired, NHS nurse come to think about it. Would you believe that this nurse, and the story is on our Facebook page, and all the links for Facebook are on our profile, and stuff on here on Spreaker. Would you believe that this 93-year-old nurse was left in a corridor for 6 days with a broken back? It's quite heartbreaking to read, considering that this nurse was honoured by Her Majesty the Queen with an MBE for her
Today's the first day of yours.
The NHS. I'm really sorry about that. For her services to the NHS. I find it quite appalling that, firstly, our government does not properly fund the NHS, and then I find it a big kick on the teeth that yesterday the Prime Minister gave a speech to her fellow party cronies about how important the NHS is to her and her diabetes, and how the NHS has helped her. Question: if you're saying the NHS is so important, why aren't you pushing for better funding of our medical services? Why aren't you pushing for better funding of our NHS? As Prime Minister, you don't really have to go and wait in A&E, do you, for 12 hours? As Prime Minister, you don't get put in a corridor for 6 days, left in your own urine. I find this quite wrong, quite appalling. My grandmother was a nurse within the NHS. She was trained in the NHS when the NHS was first started. So the NHS is something that I love. Currently I have family members who are being treated by the NHS. Currently in hospital being treated by the NHS. So, you know, it's quite bad. So let's go back to poverty, shall we? So, we were talking about how Poole Council are going to charge vulnerable people. Now, also, the Bishop of Sherborne, the Right Reverend Karen Gorham, was among the people who have criticised this council. And more than 3,350 people have also signed an online petition against this, against making these PSPOs. Yeah, so the authority, it's come to the conclusion that 50% of the 279 respondents agree with the PSO restrictions on begging in the town centre. So 59 of 279 respondents, it doesn't seem like a big number, does it? Statistically, not really, when you can only be bothered to ask 279 people. Considering, should we look, or if you get a minute, I will put it up on our website, but if you get a minute, do check, how many people actually live in the council's area, and then tell me it's 50% of the people you've asked. Also, show me the questions of the poll on how you phrase the question, because it all depends on how you phrase the question. How about we stop trying to, pass the problem on to the prison service or pass the problem on to the NHS, and we try and fix the problem? MPs have, like I said, have voted to give themselves a 1.8% pay rise to £77,000 a year. Meanwhile, in the United Kingdom, children are going to school hungry, no longer having their meals paid for. Last week, a lot of legislation was pulled by this government, and You might think that I'm against or I'm like more following one political spectrum than the other. Well, I'm here to tell you that this podcast is non-political, so I might call into question the government, I might call into question, the opposition parties. We are not party political. This is a non-partisan blog or podcast, and this is the way we're going to do it. So basically, this week we have got rid of a lot of legislation. Well, I find it mind-boggling, to tell the least, that 1 minute we're going to war with Russia, but in the meantime, on the same day when the Prime Minister gave her talk about this, we were able to, on the same day, they were voting in the House of the Commons to get rid of school lunches. I find that quite appalling, to tell you the truth. And sick. It's ridiculous. At the end of the day, you can, allow this to happen in this country. Sorry, I'm just trying to find what legislation was moved. I did find it somewhere. Free school. But it's just, 1 day ago, why did their children lose their free school meals? This is more to do with the universal credit. Isn't it such a good thing that we have to redo the benefit system but actually make more people poor? So much for carrying the state. However, the universal credit system is being rolled out across the government have explained, to replace benefits such as job seekers, ESA, and many other. And many other benefits. That's really good. A shake-up of the benefit system. However, what does it do?
Replan.
It doesn't really help matters.
Repot. Return. Refence. Refurn.
When basically you have to, when children are going to school without any meal or any food, it doesn't really help anyone, does it? How can those children be expected to perform well if they're sitting in a classroom hungry? Do you know what I mean? So the changes to the system, and this is a major shake-up, changes to the benefit system will result in a major shake-up, and axe could fall on free school meals. Well, it already has. Universal credit is a system being rolled out by government to replace 6 benefits, including income support, housing benefit, and job seekers allowance. Employment and support allowance, and I can't remember the other 2. At the moment, all children in all households that have been switched to universal credit also qualify for free school meals. The decision has caused outrage from Labour politicians who warn that the government is pulling a rug from under these vulnerable children, according to the Mirror. But Tories, the Conservative Party, responded by saying that Labour is scaremongering and children will not immediately lose their school lunches. But effectively, that's what they voted to do. Although they're not going to lose it today, do you know what I mean, or tomorrow, come September, they could. So, shall we read below? So currently, all families on universal credit can claim free school meals. The offer was designed as a transitional measure to help as they move to the new 6th benefit into 1. The more generous of the rest of the population who are guaranteed free school meals only in infant school, year 1 and year 2. Okay, so, I know what people are saying. But now under the new law, children in year 3 and above on universal credit will no longer normally be eligible if their parents earn more than £7,400 a year. Well, it's quite wrong, isn't it? If you're on universal credit or on a benefit system, you can't really afford to pay your children, even if they are in year 3 of education. Hence why you're on the benefit system anyway. Now, it was also said that if you're already a universal credit and your child's free lunches won't disappear on April 1st no matter what you earn. It was reported in the Manchester Evening News. But the long answer is, it's more complicated than the whole debate is about your entertainment. However, what they fail to tell you is, yes, the Labour Party voted for this. The Labour Party voted with the Conservatives and the Liberal Democrats in 2010 for these cuts. Full benefit cuts. So, don't believe everything that you're saying. Check your individual MPs' voting record. However, back to the MPs getting a pay rise. Do they deserve a pay rise? In which real world does a person go off to work, get a free second house fully furnished, £77,000 a year, plus expenses, and a 1.8% pay rise? Answer me that. When we have children going to bed hungry, we have disabled people in this country going to bed, stuck in the house with nothing to do all day because their services have been cut by their local council. We have it gets to me because, this country is meant to be one of the best countries in the first world, or in the world. At one point this country ruled most of the world. But we can't seem to look after our own people. We'd rather play party political point-scoring games against each other than work together to come to a better solution for the future of this country and the future of tomorrow. Remembering that these children, like I keep saying, these children are tomorrow's future. They are the future prime ministers. They are the future, leaders of the opposition. They are the future leaders of political parties. They're the future kings, queens. I know that they are rich, but they are. Prince George is going to school. He is in school. Although he goes to a private school, he is still the future king of, We have future policemen, future firemen, future police officers, future fire officers, future ambulance personnel, future doctors, nurses, whatever. They are tomorrow's future. So shouldn't we tackle poverty right now for our future, rather than making them grow up in poverty? I know people will say, well, how can you understand poverty if you haven't experienced poverty? Well, to me personally, for someone who lives on a council estate and has experienced poverty, okay, it's good argument. However, I would rather tomorrow's generation, or the children of our children, not have to live in poverty and actually Thank you. It's quite appalling, to tell you the truth, that this goes on in 2018, that we're still having this conversation. When if you look at 1918, just after World War I, our soldiers were promised so much, but the government failed to deliver to our soldiers. At the end of World War II, we had the National Health Service. We went national with everything. But we seem to have gone back 100 years. Thank you for listening to this podcast. And I will be back within the week with a new topic. If you've got anything you'd like to add, please visit our website or our Facebook page. Our website is realterrio.co.uk. Our Facebook page is facebook.com/realterrio. You've been listening to Around the World Today, here on Real Terrio Radio.
Around the World Today, here on Real Terrio Radio. Podcasts brought to you by Real Terrio Radio.